Now we're ready to put some of the final touches on. I'm going to go ahead and do some contouring and some freckling on the skin here using the spatter brush with either the single dot alpha, like we've got selected right now, or the cluster dot alpha. We'll begin by just going and selecting a cool brown, like you see here. And I'm on a single dot alpha. RGB intensity, we can dial back to about, let's say, 69. And in this situation, you really don't need to have X symmetry turned on, because part of what we want to do here is introduce randomness, introduce asymmetry. So I'm going here and just spattering in using this cluster dot alpha. I'm using the single dot alpha and spraying it in clusters. And I'm really trying to contour around the bone structure. I can actually dial back the RGB intensity. I think it's a little strong. See, this gives me a really nice kind of freckling to the skin. So it can serve as both pigmentation as well as modeling, contouring, shading. Bring it up into the nose area here. I want to darken that nose. And bringing that pigmentation up the bridge of the nose and into the brow area. Down around the bottom of the lips here. I'm going to spray into the deepest portion of the ear here. Usually you want to avoid spraying dark down into the recessed areas, making it too opaque like that, but I just wanted to kind of accentuate the sense of depth there just by spraying some dark down in there. I'm going to press the V key to switch color. I'm going to sample the base color again. I'm just going to spray it into the nose area a little bit. It got a little too dark for me. And V to switch back to that darker brown. And let's switch over to the cluster dot alpha. Again, I'm just trying to shade very subtly around some of these areas. I haven't done much on the back of the head, but really that's mainly for speed and clarity. You know, don't want to spend too much time working the back of the head, and we've got a limited amount of time in the video, but it's all the same process for the back of the head. It's a bit simpler, really. Alright, in addition to the browns here, I'll switch back to a lighter hue. I'm going to go back to the dot alpha, go to the system palette, and let's raise this up towards white. And we could do a little bit of dotting with white as well. And don't neglect going in and even doing some more squiggly lines. We can still put those in up here as well. Might want to dial back the RGB intensity a bit. And I might even go back in to my system palette and go into something purple. So that concludes our look at texture painting this character. We've taken a look at a very specific approach to texture painting, which is based heavily on Photoshop or on airbrush technique, where you lay in temperature regions of the face, cool into the recesses, warm through the nose and the ears. You break up those temperature passes using a mottling pass, and then you just spray on dots of color to further adjust the temperature as you go. It's a very organic, fun way of painting, and I use it on almost everything I do. Even if I'm projecting photo reference, I'll usually paint in some areas by hand, or I'll try and unify some areas by using these same spray and mottle techniques. We've also looked at a couple different ways of painting the horns here. We've painted them using ZBrush as well as using the new texturing tool Spotlight. And that pretty much wraps things up. I hope you enjoyed watching this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and I hope you find this technique useful. You can adapt it to any type of skin tone, from any number of skin tones that you find in the natural world, all the way through to alien and creature skin tones, which would really just be a combination of various different shades of human skin with some animal patterning. So really anything that you can find, you can use this technique to create. It's all just going to change in how you select your base colors. For example, if it's predominantly a green person, you're going to want to move into greens, yellows, and blues into your bases, but you're still going to want to have some temperature variation and some color variation across the head. So just experiment and take advantage of the layer system, because you can explore a lot and play a lot using layers. If you break up your color passes between those layers, it'll give you a lot of freedom. You can feel liberated to make experiments that you might not otherwise do because you'd be scared of messing things up. So again, I hope you find this process useful, and I hope it's something that you continue to explore on your own. Let's go ahead and take a look really quick at the final render composite in Photoshop. Here we see the character in Photoshop with the multiple passes rendered out of ZBrush composited together into one image. If I were to bring up the menus here, you can see that I've got quite a few things happening here, and these are all just renders that have come out from BPR. There's an occlusion pass, a shadow pass, a regular color pass, a darkening pass, and then an overlay of just the color scheme itself with no shading on there. So I've covered how to lay things out like this, how to organize things in Photoshop, and how to composite things in other tutorials. I just wanted to give you an idea here of what this particular one would look like with these different render passes taken out. If you want to render them in ZBrush, all you need to do is go to the rendering menu. Let ZBrush catch up here. It's got to think for a moment. And turn on Create Maps, and it'll render all of these maps. And it's pretty self-explanatory. The image is just the regular color image. Depth is the depth image. And then shadow and ambient occlusion will go on as multiply layers. I will include this Photoshop composite so you can see what I've done and how I've laid things out. For example, some of these are just individual areas, like the eyes here I've got across several layers. If I turn these off, there you can see. And then I've got just the gray shaded layer faded out with a layer mask, so you can see from gray to color. So I will include this image with the files on the DVD so you can take a look at it and dissect it yourself. The important thing is to just get a good feel for how to actually approach this paint job. If you want a detailed tutorial on how to break things down in Photoshop and how to composite them, I'll cover that in a later issue of 3D World. Or if you like, you can check out my book ZBrush Character Creation second edition from Wiley & Sons, Cybex Publishing. It's available on Amazon and in major bookstores, and I do have a chapter which does cover the Photoshop compositing process. So, that completes this tutorial. If you've got any questions or comments, please feel free to contact me. My email address is scott@scottspencer.com, and I really do enjoy hearing from other artists, so don't hesitate to drop me a line. If you've got anything that you want to add, or you have any questions or any comments, shoot them over. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed making the video, and thank you very much for watching.